6:31, the meeting will come to order. I'd like to welcome you to the Pasco School Board meeting this evening. Thank you for attending and for your interest in Pasco Public Schools. Understand that while it may appear that the board is moving quickly on important matters, there have been previous opportunities for discussions on issues either in earlier meetings, study sessions, or in board workshops, which are all open public meetings. Each director has had time to sufficient time to study the issues before making decisions. This afternoon, we had a couple of things. We had a board retreat from noon to 4:30 where we talked about board priorities and priorities for the superintendent. That was an open public meeting. And we also had a study session at 4:30 where we talked about the 2017-2018 budget, how impacts from the state are going to possibly impact us there, and then just our normal annual budget workshop that we have. As directors, we strive to understand all the issues brought before us and make decisions that we believe are in the best interests of all the students of Pasco School District and the taxpayers who provide funding. As a reminder, all of our open public meetings or all of our board meetings are recorded for broadcast on Charter Cable TV Channel 191. You can also find those recordings by going to YouTube and searching Pasco Public Schools. Finally, we're fortunate to have 3 student board representatives seated to my left. They cannot legally vote on issues, but they're a very important part of our team's decision-making process. They participate in many board activities and functions throughout the year and are vital in helping us keep our focus on putting students first. All right, next we have the flag salute, and we will have our 3 student board representatives lead us in the flag salute.
If you will please stand. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, I'd like to ask Ms. Smith to please call the roll.
Mr. Christensen?
Present.
Dr. Richardson?
Present.
Ms. Rankin? Present.
Present.
Mr. Norman?
Present.
Ms. Pitos?
Present.
Mrs. Phillips?
Present. Present.
We have no special recognition on agenda item number 4 this evening. Next, we have approval of the meeting minutes from July 25th, 2017. I would entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I move to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of July 25th, 2017.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve the regular meeting minutes from July 25th, 2017. All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Regular meeting minutes from July 25th, 2017 are approved. Agenda item 6, we have the agenda review.
There are no changes or additions to the agenda, and we will not be requesting an executive session.
Okay, agenda item number 7 is audience comments. In just a moment, I will open the microphone for the public or for the audience to address the board. Please try to keep your questions or comments to the board under 2 minutes. If you'd like additional response beyond what you, or conversation beyond what you received this evening, please ensure that your contact information is left in the back corner of the room, and we'll get a hold of you for further discussion. So the microphone is open. Seeing that we have no audience comments this evening, we'll move on to agenda item number 8, board communications. We'll start with Dr. Richardson.
Thank you. I just wanted to comment, I think most people are aware of this now, but the district has announced that we'll have a girls swim team at Pasco High and Chihuahua High this fall. Super exciting. There was a lot of community excitement around that, and so as part of one of our outrageous outcomes that is all of our students be involved in extracurricular activity to connect them to their school. This is another opportunity that we'll have, and look forward to looking at how we can expand more opportunities to catch more kids, to keep them connected. So encourage you to spread that awareness, and that will be offered an opportunity at both our schools. And I believe the district is still working on boys teams, and we'll announce that when the time comes. Thank you.
I'll pass.
So just quickly, it's this last legislative session, we did ask for some additional money for the Early Learning Center. So the good news is, it looks like we're approved for $1 million. So we should be getting that at some point. The bad news is that that's tied up in the capital budget, which is not being released until they fix another issue with the legislature, and who knows when that'll happen. It could be potentially even next session, which is scheduled to start in less than 5 months. So we'll see what happens. But the good news is it will come when the capital budget is approved, or as long as things hold. So.
These last 2 weeks, I got the chance to go see my new school, the New Horizons building, and I just want to say I'm excited for this school year, and it looks like it's coming along really nice.
These past 2 weeks, I got the chance to go see the additions that have been made to Pasco High. Also, I went to a retreat in Pullman for Gear Up, and I'm pretty excited for this next year.
About an hour ago, I had my first study session here with all of the board, and it was actually pretty exciting because as a student, you never really think about the money aspect of things. And when I went to my ASB advisor talking about, oh, we should do this, this, and this, and she would say, oh, we don't have enough money, I kind of give her like the, okay. But we discussed the budget, and it really showed you how much wiggle room we have and things like that. So I'm excited to know things like that. I'm glad to have this opportunity. So that's me.
It's so fun to see our meetings through the eyes of a student. So I wasn't quite as excited as she was about it. So, but I do appreciate all of the work and the understanding. I think it's really important. I had the opportunity to, I don't even know, what was that thing at 8 a.m. that we went to at the, what did they call that at the Red Lion?
It was our all-staff kickoff for classified, certified administrators and clerical staff.
Okay, which was great. We were fortunate enough to hear from Danny from the McFarland. Anyway, I love that this district is taking care of our classified staff. Great looking bunch of people. They were amazing, and the support. And I think anybody who rode a bus their whole entire lives knows how important a bus driver is in your life, because I've had good ones and bad ones, and it makes a difference in your day. It makes a difference in your learning. And I remember when one of my bus drivers died, I was just, devastated. She's just and I reached out to her family because she'd been such an influence in my life. So it was such a fun day. I really enjoyed. It's one of the enjoyable things that I get to do on the board. I didn't want to make it sound bad, but it was really neat. And it was neat to see the district supporting that group of people that sometimes gets overlooked. So.
Last Thursday, I was able to attend the second, summer graduation for Chiawana High School. Thank you to Mr. Walwork and his team for putting that on and taking the time to honor those student graduates and their families. The students that were graduating were students that I believe all of them had not passed the biology EOC or the biology assessment, I should say. And so it passed through the legislature and the governor that was not required, so we were able to say that those students had now met all the requirements of the state and the district and get them across that stage. So thanks again for all the hard work. Thanks to everyone who helps make these non-spring graduations happen. And we also got noticed that other assessments that have happened in the past that were requirements for graduation, some of them dating back to 2014, you can apply for a waiver. Students can apply for a waiver. So I know Miss Whitney and her staff, the high school principals, are looking at that. So hopefully in the near future, we have more reasons to celebrate with some students who may have given up on their dream of high school graduation, and some requirements were removed, so we'll be able to help them get across the stage. Thank you.
So in the spirit of celebration, I just wanted to invite the board and remind the public that on August 28th is our annual all-staff opening ceremony, where we will be inviting Danny Diaz back again to address all the staff that wasn't able to attend in that first week of August. So we're excited to integrate Danny Diaz into our all-staff opening, which, and I know I say this a lot, but it is truly one of my favorite events. It's an awesome opportunity to say hello to friends we've missed over the summer, and then we also spend time honoring our professionals with the Staff Achievement Awards, which are awards that colleagues nominate each other for. So it's an absolutely amazing celebration of the hard work of our professionals every day. And so looking forward to that on the 28th. It'll be at Pasco High School, and we'll get notification regarding times out to the board.
Thank you. Next, we have agenda item number 9, reports and discussion. I'll allow Ms. Whitney to introduce our first report.
So it's my absolute honor to introduce to the board and to the public Assistant Superintendent Eric Bowles, who is here tonight to start what is going to be a series of presentations around a continuum of instruction and intervention. And there's a graphic that will represent that work over time. So this particular report will focus on those items and activities that are either core instruction or specifically designed for those students who have already mastered the core instruction and need something to extend their learning beyond that. The next couple presentations, one will be on our new assessment system, which is the data tracking system we'll use to identify what kinds of instructional supports our kids need. And then the one immediately following that will be the continuum of instruction for students who have not yet mastered the standards through the core curriculum, so those interventions that our kids need. So this is the first in at least a series of 3. And so, Mr. Bowles.
Thank you. Good evening, Board President Lehrman, Superintendent Whitney, and members of the board. This evening, as Ms. Whitney indicated, I'm pleased to present on the continuum of services offered by our district for our accelerated learners. This is again the first of a series of presentations detailing PSD's continuum of instruction and intervention. While tonight's presentation focuses on what is available for accelerated learners, you can anticipate learning more about the instructional department's work in supporting core instruction and remedial services in future meetings. So I'm sure this particular slide's of great familiarity to the board. This highlights our operational expectations around the instructional program, and the board's development of these operational expectations has provided, as part of the board governance model, has provided great clarity and direction for the district's instructional staff. You'll also see these principles embedded throughout the remainder of the presentation. And you'll appreciate this slide, and you'll know that Ms. Whitney actually developed it because of the great animation features that probably wouldn't have been in a slide had I developed it. But one of the things I want to talk about before we click here so you can see the great animation is there's some uniqueness in Pasco's model around looking at intervention. So starting with our core curriculum right at the middle, that guaranteed and viable curriculum for all of our students that we've worked so hard on over the past 2 or 3 years to ensure both supports and instructional materials and really beginning work around alignment to standard. This work will be continued, and the model and the supports through our Pasco curriculum guide process is something that'll be a continued evolution over time. Most districts focus real heavily on just maybe one side of this diamond, which is core curriculum and the interventions and remedial supports provided. So Pasco's focus is unique in my opinion, in that it really focuses on all children regardless of where they're at. So you can see the core curriculum at the middle, and then moving to the right, acceleration, and to the left, remediation opportunities. So that was cool. So really starting again, looking at the operational expectations, which ones align to our recent work. And as you're aware, because of a whole variety of presentations over the last couple of years, the hard work of our Pasco teachers, PAE, and a dedicated group of administrators ensuring that we had our core materials adopted. Also, alignment to one of the operational expectations in developing the curriculum guides. And again, when you look at how districts ultimately implement curriculum, some districts do a really good job of ensuring that the instructional materials match to standards, that there's a gap analysis done, and then ultimately, over time, teacher-friendly user guides are developed by teachers who are really closest to this work. Many districts actually sort of short-circuit that step, purchase the instructional materials, and 6 or 7 years later, kind of look at again whether a new set of instructional materials is needed. So the other piece that you'll see here, and you'll hear in upcoming board meetings, and again aligned to the operational expectations, is the review cycle. So as opposed to buying a set of instructional materials and then looking at those materials again in 7 years for sufficiency, we'll detail how we'll be constantly looking at not only the instructional materials, but standards, and looking at how our kids are progressing to standard, and doing all kinds of gap analysis around what more we can provide supported both for our teachers and for our students. So this brings us to some recent and very significant work done in the highly capable arena. As again you're aware, during the 16-17 school year, parents, community, and employees participated in a rigorous course of study, stakeholder work group, and highly capable advisory to refresh, refine, and refocus the district's approach to highly capable instruction. In the coming slides, some of these work group recommendations are highlighted for you in bold. So you'll see embedded in the next series of slides, a lot of the work that we're doing is taken from the input of those groups. Some of the areas of emphasis included ensuring teacher training, a comprehensive system of screening for access to HiCap offerings, and emphasizing instructional approaches, including cluster grouping and flexible grouping, particularly at neighborhood schools. The next 6 slides will focus on our rigorous content and course offerings across the grade spans. So starting at the elementary level, we offer spectrum in grades 2 through 6 in some of the ways that's been supported recently. We're increasing teacher access to both national and state conferences around gifted and talented. Also opening up that training for teachers who work in the neighborhood K-8 environments to ensure that our teachers who are working with children who are identified as gifted across neighborhood schools also have access to that training. And over the course of this next year, our Spectrum teachers will begin taking a look at their own instructional materials to ensure that we've got the best materials for our students' opportunity in highly capable at the elementary level. So you'll see again some input from the work group reflected here in the course description, adding highly capable offerings in English language arts at the middle school level, and intentionally recruiting and identifying for extracurricular activities like robotics, for example, at Chess, and exploring opportunities to create equitable curricular opportunities across the middle schools. Moving on to high schools here over the next few slides. We've chosen to focus specifically on 3 high school college preparatory opportunities, advanced placement, college in the high school, and running start. This work is also being rigorously examined by teachers and administrator staff involved in the College and Career Ready initiative, as Pasco is working to ensure that our transition to the state's 24 credit requirement provides all of our high school students with the opportunity to access a truly superior education. So just wanting to connect the dot there, that this highly capable work really does dovetail nicely with the college and career readiness work that's already undertaken. So you'll see the bolded item around AP is in exploring processes to support students who access AP in gaining the tools they need to pass AP exams at higher rates. That'll be one of our focuses over the coming year. Moving on to college and the high school, we'll explore a little bit later in the data slide who of our high school students are accessing these courses and what types of college credit are being accrued by those students. Running Start, as you know, is our partnership with CBC, and that program requires students to meet CBC's entrance requirements, and then students actually take their courses on the CBC campus. So this slide provides an overview of some of the features of each program because they're all slightly different. So looking at AP courses are taught by our high school teachers who are certified through the College Board. College and the high school also taught by high school teachers, but have to be certified by our partner higher education institutions. And Running Start is offered by the community college.
Eric, who's our partner for college and the high school these days? Is it Central or WSU or?
At this point, Central, and we're in dialogue with a number of other higher education institutions, specifically WSU.
Can you have more than one partner for college and the high school, or can you only have one college at a time?
You could have multiple partners, and there are some huge advantages to that. In my direct professional experiences, colleges, our higher education institutions tend to at least appear to those of us in K-12 as a little bit idiosyncratic in terms of teacher A, when a transcript review, if that teacher's professional background is reviewed, may be allowable to teach. Teacher B may not be, and we don't necessarily see the subtle differences. So some institutions are more liberal, and sometimes that's a department-driven issue at higher ed. So the pro is absolutely having more partners because the likelihood of getting more teachers certified provides more choice to our students. The con at the end of it is if I'm a student who's taken advantage of college and high school and you've got multiple university partners, having to access transcripts through those various universities when you go through the college admissions process. So, the more partners you have, the more complex you make it for the students, but the trade-off is there are more opportunities. So we'll look at all those things closely as we continue to move this work forward.
And I hate to even say this, being a card-carrying WSU Cougar, but I was looking this up a couple months ago, and I couldn't even find hardly anything about college and the high school for Central or WSU. I could find a lot for University of Washington, and it looked like they had a wide variety of course offerings. Are WSU and Central and whoever else we're looking at providing as many different course offering opportunities as University of Washington, and have we looked at University of Washington?
I can't speak to whether we've had any dialogue here in Pasco School District with the University of Washington. I'll respond to the rest of the question, and then I may ask an audience member here to throw me a lifeline. I've got a number of supporters over the K-12 continuum here because highly capable instruction is such a complex issue. So we anticipated that it might take a variety of us to answer some of those questions. Central does offer quite a lot. Again, in my former role, I spent quite a bit of time interfacing with Central. I know that both Central and WSU have turned over personnel recently, and WSU is kind of rethinking their entire focus, which is part of the issue in terms of what we negotiate with them. So I don't know if Suzanne or Chip would be able to address whether we've worked directly with University of Washington.
Not in the last program.
No, we haven't. But they do offer some courses that we do want to offer that the other colleges do not. And one of them is chemistry.
Yeah, I saw that.
Chemistry, they're looking to add chemistry not this coming year, but the following year. But both schools, or all three schools, Central, WSU, and UW, offer a wide range of
Okay.
courses.
Yeah, I saw UW was offering 30-some courses. And one more question. I think I saw on UW's it cost about 1/3 or less dollars per credit or per course than it would enrolling at the actual university. Are the Central and WSU prices in line with that, or are they even cheaper? Can you give me an idea how much it costs the student to get that credit?
I can tell you, yes, I can answer both of those questions. I can tell you a couple years ago, Central was considerably cheaper than that. We also apply for, as a district, for a college and the high school grant. We pay the costs of our students who are accessing college in the high school, and we get reimbursed by the grant. It's a flow-through based on whether students are free and reduced eligible or not, so we incur a slight cost for those students who may not be eligible under that criteria, but we fund the entire cost of that as a district with OSPI's help.
Okay. And yeah, that's the reason I just asked. I saw we're only offering at this time 3 courses, Mathematics 101, English 101, and English 105, and it sounds like you guys are doing your research into how to expand those course offerings, whether it's additional partners or getting more teachers certified by our current partners. So I appreciate that.
Okay, I have some questions on partners because I just opened a letter from CBC that said that my son took a business financial lit class for 5 credits, and it was from CBC, and I was really surprised because I'd got similar letters from Central for my other son. But did I misread that? I mean, I was surprised because it was CBC, but we don't have any college in the high school from CBC.
No, CBC doesn't offer college in the high school. They only offer the Running Start option.
Okay, I'm gonna have to go reread my letter.
Yeah. And you can send it our way and we can help you. So.
Yeah, this is, I really appreciate this slide, Mr. Bowles. This is perfect. I've had this kind of question in my mind for a long time because, and I want to ask about the rigor, and I know that this is maybe subjective to some degree, but you look at the course offerings. If I'm a junior and I'm trying to decide, I want some college credit and get ahead of the game a little bit, how do I decide? And maybe our high school people can help us, Mr. Walwork, Mr. Elfring, what pushes a student into, how do they decide, like, should I take the AP class and take the AP test? Should I take this, if I want some math college credit, do I try to do this college in the high school? Should I apply for Running Start? And I know there are only certain classes and programs offered through that, but I'm just wondering, what is our framework and what is the rigor? Because I've honestly met students that are really struggling in high school and they're like, I'm going to go to Running Start. And I'm like, oh, that's weird. You're struggling in high school, but you're going to go to college now and get college credit. And I can't grasp that.
Sure. So I actually prepared quite a few pro and con sort of items on this issue because I think there are advantages and disadvantages to all 3. Running Start, huge advantage in that you can go and you can actually access all the way up through a AA or a AAS. Potentially by the end of your high school experience, you can actually simultaneously graduate with a high school diploma and a AA or S. The con to that for some students is they either want to be in the high school environment or the high school environment may be better for them than the college environment. So those are just, I think sort of personal preferences that have to be weighed out. College in the high school is very rigorous. The teacher has to be approved just as if they were an adjunct professor, essentially, to be able to deliver the college's syllabus. The advantage, I think, to college in the high school over AP, for example, is if you're looking to go to an in-state school, you're actually knocking out potentially that state school's requirements. And certainly transfers nicely to other state schools. AP is typically for students who may want to apply to a very competitive college or university. And then in terms of the rigor, I don't know that I have a strong enough opinion one way or the other relative to, is an AP course really more rigorous than an approved college in the high school course. So I don't know if either Mr. Walwork or Chip or Suzanne would want to opine on that.
I was just going to add to your question about the CBC letter. So there's a few of our CTE courses that articulate with CBC's courses. And so students that take those CTE courses in high school, there's certain standards that are met, and if you meet them, yes, you can obtain CBC credits, college credits for those articulated CTE courses. So that's the letter I think.
So let me just clarify into the microphone for the recording that there are CTE courses that are articulated for college credit. So, and certainly that is the letter that you received, and we can bring those specific courses back at a future report around CTE or college and career readiness. I believe we're doing an update soon, so we can focus on that. The issue for us for this report is that we haven't collected that data as long as we have this set of data. So the next slide that Mr. Bowles has some data for you. So this was specifically around AP, college and the high school, and Running Start. We can focus on those CTE courses for college credit in a future report.
That sounds good, because this is good information for high school. You know, I could have avoided going to school for 13 years or whatever. So this, you know, I want to, you know, our kids need to know this, and our community, the parents, and I'm sure our high schools do that. But I don't have a good awareness of what's what. So as I meet with people, I mean, I could be helpful.
And speaking from a parent who has 3 children that have chosen to go out of state to college, CBC's credits didn't transfer great. Even they both graduated from college with an AA, but the AP is more widely received. So where you go to college is really important. I think in Washington State they're more widely accepted, but it really didn't shorten my kids' college careers by a whole lot. It did qualify for some of their general ed, but like the AP is just completely accepted and credit for credit. Anyway, so that's been something interesting with my kids. It's something, it would be nice to have something for parents so that they can decide, because it was a hard decision for us to make, and I wish my oldest two had gone the AP route.
Well, and you raise a really great issue that I'll respond to there. All of these courses that are offered for credit are incumbent on each university or each state university system to determine what they accept. So, for example, students that apply to very elite universities while taking 5 or 6 AP classes and passing with a 3 or greater on the exam may really help you in terms of admission. Many of our elite universities don't even offer credit for AP. The rationale being everybody we accepted has 5 or 6 AP classes, so you get to start as a freshman. So it is a very confusing issue. We've got experts in each of our high schools that, you know, when students are making those decisions, can really help kind of ferret out, you know, what are the admissions requirements and what may transfer in terms of credit. But each university is a little different in terms of how they look at whether transfer credit or whether they even grant credit. Certainly in terms of competitive admissions, college and the high school and AP help you out at those more elite universities.
Is there overlap between the 2 classes sometime, in that a teacher can teach one class like mathematics, the equivalent of 101 here, and teach AP and college in the high school in the same class, or the syllabus is so different that you have to keep the classes separate?
Yeah, my understanding is you're talking about a syllabus from a state university and a syllabus from the College Board. So, yeah, the overlap is probably not impossible, but it's not a high likelihood.
So if we have 6 students that want to take college in the high school mathematics 101, there's a separate mathematics 101 for those 6 students, and then AP might have 30-some students?
Well, and then you really get into master schedule considerations then, and those decisions would be made case by case in terms of, you know, do we have the ability to subsidize a course where
Let me
only
ask it at a
16
higher
students
level. Is college in the high school everyone who takes it in college in the high school in a given class, and that's all? Or is there splits? Does anybody know?
It used to be, it should be the same class. But the law came back and said that those need to be different on their transcripts. So we have separated them out. But college and high school, let's say for mathematics, they have to qualify for placement test for their scores. Whereas with AP, that's open enrollment. But as far as the class together, the teacher is in charge of creating their syllabus for AP and then submitting that and having that approved by College Board. So it can have some overlap. With Central, they also have some assignments and a portfolio that you have to complete as well and turn into them. But you could, but for transcript purposes, they have to be separate.
So just a hypothetical here, that someone could take a college in the high school syllabus and submit it to AP and get it approved and teach both classes together?
As long as it meets the requirements.
Okay. And they use the same, you use the curriculum adopted by the school district, but you just tailor that to their syllabus?
You don't get to use the curriculum adopted by the school district for the college and the high school. You're
separate books?
Charged with using the university's curriculum.
Okay.
But the AP courses are similar, aren't they? Don't they have specific curriculum specifically for the AP courses?
AP teachers typically follow a very rigorous course of training. Many of them attend training annually to ensure that they can teach AP courses. In terms of similarity, I have not personally taken those course syllabi from Central and the AP courses and looked at them side by side.
So I heard you say college and the high school uses college books. AP uses district-approved high school books, more or less?
Again, I would have to defer.
Yeah, true. So we just went through the adoption process with several of the AP classes, and they first had to start with what were the approved curriculums through the College Board, and then they narrowed down from there.
Okay.
The college and the high school classes, again, just went out to traditional textbook companies, but then they have to match it up to whatever the college syllabus requires, and we have to ensure that we have supplemental materials to make sure that we hit all of the standards outlined in the syllabus.
I still don't know if I know the answer to the question. Do they both use the same, for Math 101, do they both use the same book that all other kids taking high school math are using?
Well, Math 101 is not offered.
Are we ordering special books for college and the high school? I think I heard one person say yes, another person say no. Are we ordering special books for AP? I think we are.
For AP classes, we had to go through the process of going off of the approved textbooks.
Okay.
Reviewed, and then the selection was made.
Okay, so there's AP book and a regular course book, and then for college and the high school, we order a third book.
If it's necessary, if the adopted, let's say Agile Mind, is a curriculum for algebra or Math 101, if that does not meet the standards, it's not sufficient in meeting the standards that are on the college syllabus, then we supplement. John,
Yeah, just to add to that, so I guess the little confusion is, so when we work with Central's English department has certain curriculum and books that we have to use. Now, because advanced placement is a college level class, they have a little bit wide. I mean, they don't prescribe one textbook. As long as it's college level, it's in your syllabus, and they approve it, then that's fine. So for us, yes, a lot of college and the high school materials, people put that, AP teachers put that in their curriculum and turn it into AP, and AP approves that because it's college level. So yes, there's a lot of intermingling, but there's also some AP courses that have separate materials to add to specifically target the AP test and those standards. So it's kind of a yes and yes.
I understand. Thank you.
I took college in the high school for English, and we had a few students who took AP, and my teacher got the syllabus approved where we did similar assignments. It was basically all of them the same, but for Central, for our portfolio, we took the ones we did throughout the year, and we picked the ones Central approved, and then the AP kids took the ones they needed.
So high school and the college and the high school and AP students were in the same class
for English, yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you.
But for math, we were in separate classes.
Okay, and moving on to the data here. So you can see the number of advanced placement courses that were offered, who earned college credit in 15-16 and in 16-17, and the average number of college credits earned. So in AP, I think you see good news across the board in terms of wider access. College and the high school, you see the similar trend in terms of who is accessing, and although it looks like a little bit of a dip here between 15-16 and 16-17, that can actually be a good news scenario. What that may indicate, and we haven't looked into the data, at least I have not looked into the data specifically, but what that may indicate, because we see a bigger number of slightly over 50 students accessing, that number may go down, but we're seeing more students maybe take their first college course. So that could be what's reflected in the dip around credits. So it can be a good news scenario, even though it looks a little bit like a dip. And then you also see higher numbers of students participating in Running Start. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bowles, and also thank you to those in the audience that assisted in answering the questions. Appreciate it. Any questions or comments from the board?
No, I really appreciate this information. I think with our outrageous outcome of not only having students graduate, but having them graduate with a career path, this really integrates perfectly into that. Do our 8th and 9th graders, do we know what they're interested in? Do they know what's available? I know certainly when I was in school and I was in a different district that was viewed as a great district, I certainly did not have this information, and maybe it was different then, but on what was available to help me advance in my goals, I just went through the process and did whatever. So I'm curious if our other students have any comments on this, since you maybe have gone through this or have friends that have, as far as if you wanted to say a little bit more, I'd love to hear kind of what your experience has been and how you perceive the Running Start, college and the high school AP options at your schools.
When I went into high school, I didn't know about college and the high school. I just knew about AP and Running Start. I wanted to stay in the high school, but I still wanted the college credit, so I said, okay, AP. And it was my math teacher, Mr. Mendoza at Pasco High, who mentioned college and the high school. And I think it's great because you're still getting the high school experience, and you're getting the college credit. And you don't feel so pressured that you have to take that AP exam at the end of the year. So, and I think more students should know about it. Maybe those who take Running Start or students who are doing bad in high school, maybe college and the high school could be an option, or AP for them.
And like Angel said, when I first, because this will be my junior year, when I first entered high school, I have not heard, maybe it mentioned here and there, but it wasn't really went into of college in the high school. So talking about it right now has kind of been like a big eye-opener, because before this, I can honestly say it's never been thoroughly discussed with counselors or anybody. I think that's something that really needs to be improved on, like how much people know, because graduating with your AA is like really highly encouraged, especially from parents who might not know as much about AP and college and the high school, because they're looking at it as, oh, you get to graduate, go to 2 years of college for free, and that's excellent. But if it's not in the field that you want, if you want to go out of state and the credits might not follow through, it's kind of not an option. So if we knew about college and the high school, if we knew deeper into what AP credits would go through, and I think it would open a lot of kids' eyes. So.
Before, when I used to go to school in Kennewick, I actually took pre-AP classes over there. But that was in my sophomore year, and since I started my junior year, I've been going to New Horizons, so I was wondering if this was available to New Horizons students. I know that we can sign up for Running Start, but I never heard about college and the high school or AP. Well, I heard of AP, just not in New Horizons.
And I can either find that information or defer to maybe one of our secondary people in the audience who might know that answer.
Here's what I know to that end, and certainly, Angel, we can get you more information. Part of co-locating New Horizons High School more closely onto the CBC's campus was obviously about an expansion into a facility, but it was also about an expansion into an academic program. And there's been lots of conversation that's gone on over the last year about how CBC and New Horizons High School can partner differently than they have in the past to offer students at New Horizons more kind of co-credited opportunities so that you're earning high school credits and college credits. So for example, can New Horizons High School students have access to like the automotive program and not only earn credits toward high school, but they have like a 2-quarter or a 3-quarter certificate, a professional certificate. So I know that a lot of those conversations have happened over the last year. What I'm not sure of is the details of the agreements that have been made and what's ready to launch for the fall. so we can find those pieces out. I know that through the process of Columbia Basin College selecting its new president, it's been circled back around to me through those president candidates that how impressive and how excited the current president candidates are about CBC's enthusiasm to partner with Pasco School District around the effort at New Horizons. And so it's a very living thing that people are very excited about. So we can get you some more details about what the actual decisions are that have been made.
Yeah, because I was actually discussing it with my counselor because this upcoming year, I'm going to be taking law for TriTech. So I'm only going to have 2 classes at my school. The rest of my day is going to be at TriTech, but I wanted to try doing something with college, though, to start getting my college credits. But another problem I'm having, too, is that we don't have foreign languages in my school, so I wanted to figure out if there was a way I could do that through, like, a college or something, get my foreign language in there for, like, when I apply for university and stuff like that. So I'd like to hear more about that.
So I had like 100 questions about this, and I kept being reassured that this was like over level, because I love to know details. You know, it's nice knowing about the CTE. I didn't understand that completely, and our other educational opportunities through certifications and TriTech and those other opportunities. And there's lots of things. I also want to know what our pass rates are. How successful are these, you know? This gives you an idea of what credits kids are getting, but, you know, I know my son averaged far more than 5.9 credits, so some kids are averaging far less. And just to watch those scores improve and offer those to more kids, there's you know, there's a good amount of kids that can get this kind of leg up. I know I had AP classes in high school, and I know it helped me reduce my time at college. And as I graduated with a baby, I really appreciated not having to spend extra time at college, and it was cheaper. So I think these are fantastic opportunities. And this is one set of opportunities that benefits one set of our kids in the colleges, and then we have other things that we work on that benefit some of the others, so that our kids can be ready for what they want to do afterwards. But I'm looking forward to seeing more numbers, more pass rates, and I've heard that's coming, so there's lots of fun things coming.
On the last slide, when we show the average number of credits per program, are those semester, quarter, or a combination?
Central offers quarter credits.
So that's college and the high school is quarters?
Yeah.
And what about?
Again, I'll reach out here to my 3 lifelines in the audience.
Yeah, Central, they are quarters, but we still work, they work with us, so we work in semesters.
Okay.
At the end of the semester, that's when our grading is. So they work with us on timelines.
So are these all equivalent to semester credits?
So it might be a good thing if Mark would speak to the assumptions that you used to put this data together for us. Mark, thanks.
Thank you.
Everything equates to quarters, just so we can standardize it across all dual credit opportunities. So basically, one college or one high school credit equals 5 college quarter credit.
Yeah. So a quarter has 45 credits for 1 year. And I'm not going to say what we're doing is good or bad here, but looking at it, if we're only getting 5 or 8 credits, that's like 1/9 of a year for 5 credits, or 8 credits is 1/5 of a year. So like Amy says, I know we always have room to improve it, so that's going to be exciting to hopefully see these numbers go up over time. And not to get an answer here now, but I'm curious in the future, is it good to have AP and college in the high school? Are they different enough in the credits that they're offering, or should we be focusing on one and really driving success in one of those, because we see more positive, more pros in one of those 2 programs than the other? I get the difference between Running Start. It's a quite a bit different program, but I don't fully understand pros and cons of college and the high school versus AP, and I guess I'd like to see us drive those numbers up in the future for credits.
That is a good question. Does anybody know the answer to that?
I'm sorry, I didn't fully engage in the question, to be honest, because Mr. Lehrman phrased it as something he wanted to know in the future.
Is it better, can we say that college in the high school or AP has way more pros or cons than the other one? And if so, should we be focusing all of our efforts on one of these programs and trying to drive success up in one of them, or is it good to give options? Are there enough differences between these two programs that it warrants the extra work to provide two different options?
In my personal opinion, I think it's good to provide the two options because it facilitates sort of a different level of college application depending on what kids' future goals may be. That would be my personal opinion.
As a student, I think it's good to have all these options because anyone can do AP. If you don't pass the placement test to be enrolled in college in the high school, you can take AP. Or you can always do Running Start if you meet the requirements there.
I was just going to add, Vanessa said it way better than I could have, but that was the thought from a principal's perspective. It's AP is open enrollment. As long as you have the desire and the work ethic, you can sign up for those. But in order to qualify for college and high school, you do have to pass that higher college entrance exam that Vanessa's talking about. So it is nice for right now. It is nice to have both. And I think it was said earlier, some colleges recognize AP courses more than they do the local college credit courses. So that you have that. Some of our kids are going to those bigger elite universities and need the AP more than the Central or the CBC. And so I think having all of these, there certainly is a benefit for the various kinds of students and their goals of what they want to do post-secondary.
So why would a student choose college in the high school if AP has more flexibility in the credits and it's less selective? What's the benefits?
One
of
reason,
college in
and
the high
Vanessa,
school?
you and any students, the AP college exam is a very difficult exam. I mean, even College Board will tell you they want 50% of kids passing, and if it's higher than that, then we got to make it harder. So it's a very difficult, rigorous test for our kids, and so very little of our kids meet that 3, 4, or 5 on the AP test, as opposed to college and the high school. You're taking that course from a high school teacher, and you're passing that class, and you're getting the credit. So it's the AP high stakes one test that gives you the credit, as opposed to the process that college and the high school. It's a normal class that you take the regular test. It's not that one high stakes test that your credits are dependent on.
But it's more
That's one
selective
of the
to get
reasons.
into. But you said college in the high school is more selective, or it's harder to get into, but once you're in, your chances of retrieving or earning a credit is higher, is what I'm hearing? Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah, and with college and the high school, the only test you really have to take is the final through Central. It's the same final they take. And, well, my teacher has made it very easy for us because he splits up what we have to learn in a year, which is different than AP. So we just focus on what we have to know for the final, and we take it over several days. So.
I think the other difference is, if you know that you want to go to Central or WSU and we're having this collaboration with them, then you're just perfectly fine maybe with college and the high school. But if you know you want to go to Harvard or you want to go to BYU or wherever, and that you need the AP because they're not going to accept that, well, then that directs students, because we have lots of students that want to stay local, and if we can increase the collaboration with WSU rather than we have those options, and they can just perfectly fine going that direction.
I just also wanted to mention one other caution, and we really want to be mindful of working with their counselors and each student and what their pathway may be. If they go into a college and a high school class, it can in some ways start their Pell Grant eligibility for financial aid into a secondary institution. So we really want to be thoughtful about having a kid start, because once they get that grade, that also will then follow them into their college transcript history. Mm-hmm. So it sounds exciting, but we really want to be careful with our families and make sure we understand what those child's aspirations are and where they want to go, so we set them up for success and let parents know what are the implications for financial aid in the future.
So critical piece of that, like 9th grade, that's one of our outrageous outcomes, is knowing the career is, planning out kind of a career path by 9th grade so that we can get kids ready for for college, get kids ready for a career right out of high school, or get them ready for a technical college or other sorts of education. So, so that's key. Hey, one other thing I wanted to say too is this is such a broad overview. We touched from really second grade to 12th grade. I've had the opportunity to speak with a specialist that we brought in to help out with our highly capable, and I could have listened to her forever. I mean, all of the frustrations as a parent of a highly capable child were answered by this, and how we can better serve our kids, and then we've involved the community with a lot of this, and things are changing. You know, Spectrum serves about 2% of our kids. It's just not enough, and the whole point of our board is to get every child performing at their personal best. It's all about personal bests. I like track for that. You know, you're competing against yourself and getting the best that you can be. That is what we are about. That's what this is about. And so this part is addressing our highly capable kids. We're doing the same thing with our special education kids. Every child should be able to get to their personal best. And then our kids that are middle of the line, it doesn't matter who they are. We want to get them to the point where they can do their very best and overcome any obstacles that life has thrown in their way so that they can get there. And I love that we're doing this for more of our students now, and a more thorough job of it. So I'm really excited with this initiative. I'm excited to see some of this data pulled out, and I'm excited to see how it grows as we implement some of these things.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bowles.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments for the board from the audience at this time? Without any questions or comments from the audience, we'll move on to agenda item number 9B. We have Miss Michelle Whitney going to give us an update on community connections.
Looks like a duplicate. Yeah. Let's see. No. I think so these are both the same. Yep.
No panic.
You have a copy of that. We can go and switch it back. Yeah.
Are we missing?
The community connections. We'll go back to the computer and talk about the board. Okay.
Or we could, can we log on through board member access?
What's that?
Can we log on and look at it through board member access? No.
Yes. Let me try.
Internet's slow.
You have the same one we have. Is it not working?
Both of the reports are the same. Is it on your?
We've got the PDF.
The presentation's the same as the agenda summary, right? On mine. Mine's not open.
It's board packages.
Like page
If you go back to
26.
that folder.
So here's the problem with that is I have cool links in my PowerPoint that would take you right to. So let me start this way. There was twofold for my presentation this evening, and part of that was to highlight some of the really great web tools that we have. So let's start with that part. Let's be flexible here. So We have worked really hard this year to provide some web tools that would be really usable to our community. And it all is encompassing in this initiative around what we're calling community connections. And we really want to prioritize the way that we interface with our stakeholders and in a way that aligns with your board operational expectations. Hi, Mark, you're back.
Hey, how's it going?
Okay. Oh, yay, there it is. Awesome.
There we go.
Yay, okay. So, good evening, Board President Lehrman, members of the board. Thank you for your patience. We did it. All right. I'm here tonight in front of you for Community Connections Report, and there's really two things that I hope to accomplish. One, I want to talk to you about some great communication tools we have as we open the school this fall that really align with the board's operational expectations that you set as part of your board governance planning last year. You provided us some high-level guidance in terms of the way you wanted us to communicate with and treat our owners and stakeholders. And these bullets here, these 5 bullets, represent that high-level guidance you gave us. So we keep this high-level guidance in the back of our mind as we walk through our day-to-day functions as district-level administrators. And this graphic is something that has become kind of a staple for our building administrators and our district level administrators this fall. And I know that as a board, you've heard me talk a lot about quote unquote connecting the dots across the system. And that's really to get us to a system that's consistent and efficient. Well, when you think about that, there's really kind of 3 pieces to connecting the dots in an organization. And one of those is to have a collective mindset. And you've heard us talk about things like being of service, yes and, consistency, efficiency, proactivity, etc. That's a mindset that we use every day as we walk through our organization and interact with certain structures. So in terms of community connections, we have structures like Action Team for Partnership, the Parent Advisory Council, our parent-teacher organizations, the Parent Education Center, we have home visitors, counselors, we have social workers, etc. And we have tools like our Pasco Promise, which was part of the Yes and initiative, and it talks about that we say yes, we embrace positivity, we embrace change and failure, etc. So structures and tools in any given organization are only as powerful as the mindset that you use that you use when you're applying those to the work. So I use the analogy of my husband and I, we did some tandem kayaking once, right? We're both in the same structure, which was a tandem kayak. We both had the same tools, which was an oar. My mindset was to get the kayak trip over as quick as possible, and his was a scenic kind of leisurely tour. So as I'm like paddling 1,000 miles an hour and he's like, slow moving, our lack of consistency and mindset did not make for a positive experience, right? So while a funny example and a very true one, it illustrates the importance of all of us having the same mindset so that the experience that our stakeholders or our patrons have is very similar. So this really isn't about just creating structures to check off to say we have Action Team for Partners to check. This is about connection as a mindset. So keep that in mind as we move forward. This is a visual example of all of the different mechanisms we have right now in our organization that's focus is to connect people, whether it's our harvesting opportunities for promoting education, which is our faith-based organizations, or NMPS, which is where ATP comes in, or our diversity supports where we have partnerships with AMOT and AAAS. These are all mechanisms that we currently have in this district, and they function very similar to the way they're graphically represented here. So the goal for us moving forward is for them to function this way, so that they're overlapping and we maximize the efficiency and the impact of, and really the synergy that all of those different connection mechanisms can provide for our patrons and our students in our community. So we're doing this through a set of initiatives that is focused on community connection and building that mindset of not just checking the box for compliance purposes, but engaging in connection as a mindset. So we're really in the infancy stages of a district level reorganization that prioritizes these community connections as an enhancement to our patrons' experience. So their key district office staff met this week and got really excited about prioritizing connecting with the community as a mindset, and really integrating it into the core functions of the way we do business. That will encompass aligning the existing connections that you just saw, that spread of connections that we have, with an eye on consistency and efficiency, and at the same time evaluating the current connection mechanisms. Are they meeting the needs of our community? If they're not, how do we refresh and reframe them? Do we need to abandon them altogether and explore different connection mechanisms and opportunities? So phase one has been about organizing some key district office staff differently than they have before, and having them interact with prioritizing the work moving forward. And part of that will be engaging a stakeholder advisory group that will be a broad cross representation of stakeholders within our community and the organization, and ask them, what do we need to do in phase two to really up the level of support in these community connection opportunities? Because what we know is the answer is within the experts, within our schools, our community, and with our patrons. So that's the big kind of high-level district office reorg around and really prioritizing this concept as connections as a mindset. The two other pieces that are more complete and probably a little more short-term for support are website tools, and that's what I started to talk to you about. So I embedded these cool links, and let's hope they work. On our district website, you can find, Mark, where are you at? Wait for it. Yes, all right. So you can find on our district website, under the About Our District page, this graphic, and if you click on where it says organizational structure, it brings up a graphic that represents our philosophy of organizational structure in Pasco. We believe that the superintendent's office, operational services, legal, policy, and compliance, and academics are all a network of support around our stakeholders. So if you go over here and you click on Superintendent Office and Public Affairs, you click on that, it'll bring up the people who are in those departments. So there's my photo. And it says, please contact me for assistance with or information about, and it has just a handful of bullets that the community may be most interested in. So my job encompasses a lot more bullets than that, but in terms of things the community may want to access me for information about are things like board meeting agendas. Hey, what are these outrageous outcome things anyway? Hey, I need to talk to you about the Delta Supervisory Council, or perhaps there's an issue or concern that hasn't been resolved at other places in the organization, so they're calling me up as, hey, look, I've navigated the organization, I need your help with this. And again, there's Shane and his bullets. And so each of the core functions have the same layout. So the hope is that folks that are wanting to access us for help, this is a little more transparent for them in terms of who we are and what kind of the top core functions are that they may want to engage us about. So that's one piece. We have a community tab on our website. We have a community tab on our website, Mark. Opens up. Oh, okay. And on the community tab, these are the things the items that we feel like would be the most frequently accessible kinds of things. So how do I get a flyer distributed in your district? How do I rent a facilities, public records requests, et cetera? So that's now on the community tab for us. I'm going to just go here to the students and families. It's in an embedded link, but so this is a students and families tab. This has this culmination of resources was an admin intern project done by Kyle Ellis in coordination with District Administrator Shelley Hatch. So here, families can come to a singular spot and find all kinds of links to things like registration, free and reduced lunch, some student resources like Think Central, Agile Minds that will help support our district adopted curriculum materials, and then some shortcuts to like the district calendar, lunch menus, etc. So one stop, lots of resources for parents and community. I also am particularly excited about this Who to Contact button. When you click this, it brings you to a page that looks like this, and over here it has a staff directory where parents can put in the first and last name or first or last name of an employee and find out their directory information. But it also has this interactive tool where it says, you know, my question or concern or positive feedback is regarding, and if they click my child, have you contacted your child's teacher? If they click yes, have you contacted their principal or school office? Well, no, I haven't yet. So when they click that, it brings up all of the directory information for the principals. So it's a super interactive way, and I wanted to also highlight it has my child's school-related issues or district-related issues. So if they go to a school-related issue, have you contacted your school's office? Yes, I've already done that. Then it brings up Mrs. Lobos and Mrs. Hall's contact information, as they're the district-level support that would help parents navigate a solution beyond the school building. If it's a district-related issue, they click there, and this brings up, and this will be my next slide too, this is now what we're calling our Community Connections team. Sarah Mendoza is our, she sits right out here out front. She's labeled our receptionist. One of the things that I heard from the community over my listening tour in 15-16, but then in a building listening tour, I called it Listening Tour 2.0, I went out and asked teachers, hey, how can we do a great job for you? One of the requests, actually multiple times the request came up, but my favorite way it was stated was, I wish there was a Siri-like person at the district office that we would call that would have all the answers. So we do have a Siri-like contact who is Sarah Mendoza, who has some partners on her connection team in Valerie Smith, Robin Dunnigan, Jolene Frisbee, Tina Hernandez, Gracie Vallachamal, and Mari Villa, who are her go-to people. So she knows what questions she can answer. If she needs to find out information about the other core functions, she knows that her contact in employee services, for example, is Mari Villa. So we can bring this community connections team together and really deeply train them and kind of do some scenarios and get really specific about how community concerns or community requests are navigated through our district office. So by narrowing the focus for our patrons when they call, we can up the customer service. So we're really excited about that as well. Yes, I want to close all these tabs, and yes. Okay. And then the last one that I didn't show, and I'm afraid to click on it, but was our community or our back to school tab. Sorry. And it is, why is it not the first thing now? Hold on, wait for it. Mark. Oh, wait, it's going to work. No, it's not going to work. Yes, there it is, right here. Back to school. So this banner now, when you click Learn More, very first thing that comes up on the website, usually except when I'm trying to demonstrate in front of the board and for TV, but typically the first thing that comes up, if you click Learn More, again, it's a one-stop shop for parents in terms of when does school start, what are the meal prices, what are the boundaries. This is an interactive tool for parents to go in and search for what bus route their student has. So they don't have to wait for the Tri-City Herald on the Sunday before school starts. They can go right in there, log in, the username and password's parent. They put in the information and it'll pull up the student's bus route. There's the suggested but not required supplies list. How do you register your student, Power School accounts, schedule pickup dates, and then there should be a place in here that talks to you about downloading the app. So all of that information for our parents is in the back to school banner, one place to click. So a very concerted effort in making the tools that we do have available for our kids and families accessible. Sorry, Mark, I lost my PowerPoint. This is kind of a disaster. I apologize. So with that, the last slide really was just about that community connections team with Sarah Mendoza in the middle and then all of those folks around the outside. Again, it was the effort to create that Surrey-like experience or Siri-like experience for our patrons. So with that, and all the fumbling around, this is your community connections team. All the fumbling around, I am going to just say, we are Pasco, and thank you for letting me fail in front of you this evening, but know that I really tried. So with that, I will answer any questions that you have for me. Please don't make me click anywhere else. No, I'm just kidding.
I think it's a really cool idea, and I think it's really neat for parents, and I want to know how to get it out there so all parents know that it's there.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So Shane is going to be working on pushing all this information out via our app. We'll do as much outreach as possible in the weeks leading up to school, because absolutely tools are not effective if people don't know where they are. Yeah.
But I think it has a lot of great information. I think that I don't know if even getting it out in the paper. I mean, not a lot of people read the paper. I read the paper every day, but I don't know that everybody reads it out in the paper or even on the news, something in the news about this great new app where they can go out and get all the information right out and find out what the best routes are, find out all the information about when school starts and all that. That would be a great thing to get one of the newscasters to come out and do a communication thing.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah, that was a great suggestion.
Great.
So this is just kind of a suggestion. So when you look on the website for the back to school and they do the recommended but not required supplies that students should bring, maybe we should do one for 9th graders, because I know my first year in high school, I bought everything and spent like $125, $200 on school supplies, and it ended up half of them you didn't actually need. So maybe a recommendation of like what you should bring, and then when you actually get in there, teachers tell you what you actually needed. So maybe we should do something like that for the newer students.
We've worked really hard this summer, last year and into this summer, to standardize what was asked of students, and Mrs. Hall is finalizing the lists for middle school and high school, and we'll add those to the website as soon as we get them finalized. Just so that our philosophy in Pasco is that all you need as a student on the first day of school is a smile and a willingness and an excitement for learning, and we will provide you the materials. That being said, some parents and some students like to pick their own materials, so we provide this list as a resource, but students show up on the first day of school and we will provide you what you need to learn.
Thank you. It's fantastic stuff. I think the district office, that's something I've heard a lot in the community, kind of knowing what people do and who they are. I think that's a great resource, and I love how we can access different things. I think this will be successful. I want to make a connection, but both these presentations and something else, I think, really connect a couple things and highlight a success of the district last year that I think they're continuing this year, and that's the family connection meeting for kinders. I had a kindergartner last year. I believe they're doing that again this year. We have back to school nights where you go to the school and there's hundreds of kids and you kind of walk around and kind of get an idea where your room is, but that's not the same thing as sitting down as a parent and child with your child's teacher and meeting them and talking about your hopes and aspirations and concerns. And I know we've talked about this before, and I don't want to, I'm not saying that this has to be done, but that would be fantastic if we did that at every grade. I mean, certainly in elementary school, I have kids now that are going to be in, first grade and third grade, and I have the same fears, hopes, aspirations for them, and I'd love to provide a mechanism where we can establish that as a goal and standard that every year the child and their parents have the opportunity to sit down with the teacher before school starts to make that connection. Now it's going to get trickier in the middle and high school, but same idea. I'm sure we could figure it out. But making that connection, I have a 7th grader this year. I'm terrified for him. I'm just terrified, really. And so I'm going to try to take the time and meet these people, but I don't know who his teacher. I want to be able to meet them. And to tie it back to the first presentation, this and we heard it from our students, the idea of that by the end of 9th grade, one of our goals is that they're not only on track for graduation, but they have an idea for a career path. Now, no one is locked into that, but we want to at least provide the opportunity to assist them. And so I think a goal during freshman year is that every child and their parents should be able to, should be encouraged and provided to meet with a counselor, vice principal, CTE teacher. You have all these groups that could participate in this where same idea, we sit down for 20 minutes. How has school been for you? What are your goals? Let's look at your path. And I think some of this happens to some degree, but that's just this connection idea is so fantastic. And I think that really will tie this all in full circle if we can do that at every grade.
I think this is absolutely fabulous. It's something that I think we've asked for a lot of years, and it's great. Already the website is so much better than it was. It's easier to navigate. There's more buttons that are critical, and I just think this is a great step. I really appreciate you taking this vision that the board has and making it into a reality. Even the open page and it's great. And then the app that the school district has, I think the key is getting it out there so that still there's lots of parents that don't know about the app. And but it's fabulous. This is exactly what we need to be doing to staying better connected to our community and being more responsive. I love that if there's a problem with, I love the safe schools where you can immediately report a problem. And I hope parents use that. That's one thing I've heard from administrators. We don't know that there's a problem if you don't tell us. And so it's critical that we do let them know when something like that happens. So I just really appreciate the whole thing. It's exciting. There are a few bugs that we've noticed, but I think one of them said under construction. So I'm sure those will be worked out as it goes along. But man, this is amazing. So.
Thank you, Mrs. Phillips. I'd like to acknowledge our communications team and Shane Edinger and Joelle Nunn, who've been just instrumental in helping pull these things together and to really up the level of sophistication in our website and our community outreach and our public communications. So I just want to acknowledge their hard work and effort and their willingness as I come like, hey, do you think we can do this? They always say yes, and we'll make that happen. So they do a great job for us.
I remember when it took forever just to find the stupid calendar on the website. I'm like, really, a calendar? So it's just great.
Thank you, Ms. Whitney. I would just echo my fellow board members in thanking you and thanking your staff and the board's being responsive and giving direction to Ms. Whitney in creating some of these things. I know that some people would say, well, some of these things we should have already had. Roles and responsibilities, who reports where. We've been hearing requests from the community for that information. And thank you to everyone who took action and made these things happen, along with the other improvements that you showed us this evening. All right. Next, we'll move on to, well, actually, does anybody have any questions or comments on that last report to the board from the audience? Seeing that we have no audience comments on the report, we'll move on to agenda item number 10A. We have an action item, appointment of pro-con committees for the voters guide, and we have Mr. Howard Roberts.
Board President Lehrman, Superintendent Whitney, members of the board. This item is part of the process the district needs to follow for the upcoming November 7th bond election. Franklin County requires jurisdictions placing measures on the ballot to appoint members to a pro and con committees who are willing to write statements for the county's voters guide. So what we've done is we've invited folks to submit applications. We did this both through the Tri-City Herald. We posted them also to the district's website and Facebook page. And the following responses that you have listed below. We have for the committee advocating approval, Marcia Stillwell, Meredith Taylor, and Courtney Stenson. And the committee advocating rejection, or the con committee, would be Roger Link, Pamela Follansby, and Maria Smith. With that, I'd invite your consideration of approving the applicants mentioned using the suggested motion in your packet.
Open it up for discussion from the board. Thank you, Mr. Roberts. Are there any questions or comments from the audience to the board at this time? Please approach the microphone. Address the board. Miss. Okay.
Mrs. Stillwell's name is spelled incorrectly. Oh, sure.
Okay.
It's a CIA, not an S. It is, you're right. I mean, this is English, so it's impossible. But I just thought I'd put that out because I know.
Okay. Thank you. Additional questions or comments from the audience to the board at this time? I would entertain a motion.
Mr. President, for the purpose of writing statements for Franklin County's online voters guide, I move to appoint Marcia Stillwell, Meredith Taylor, and Courtney Stenson to the committee advocating approval, and Roger Lank, Pamela Follansby, and Maria Smith to the committee advocating rejection of the district's November 7, 2017 bond ballot measure.
I'll second the motion.
There's a motion and a second that for the purpose of writing statements for Franklin County's online voters guide, that Marcia Stillwell, Meredith Taylor, Courtney Stenson are approved to the committee advocating approval, and Roger Link, Pamela Follansby, and Maria Smith are appointed to the committee advocating rejection of the district's November 7, 2017 bond ballot measure. Is there additional board discussion? With no additional board discussion, I'd ask Ms. Smith to please call the roll.
Mr. Christensen?
Yes.
Dr. Richardson?
Yes.
Ms. Rankin?
Yes.
Mr. Lehrman?
Yes.
Mrs. Phillips?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Roberts. Next, we'll move on to agenda item number 11. We have the consent agenda. We have personnel, warrant approval, the sale of surplus property, Franklin County tax property, parcel number 116-170-032. And we have overnight student travel for the Pasco High School Gaining Early Awareness and Readiness for Undergraduate Programs, or the Gear Up program, to the 2017 Student Ambassador Summer Retreat in Pullman, Washington. I would entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second?
There's a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented. Additional board discussion? Ms. Smith, please call the roll.
Mrs. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Lehrman?
Yes.
Ms. Rankin?
Yes.
Dr. Richardson?
Yes.
Mr. Christensen?
Yes.
Agenda item number 12 is future agenda items.
So before I launch into future agenda items, I just wanted to call the board's attention tonight. You approved Ms. Valerie Smith's letter of retirement. Ms. Smith will be retiring after 12 years of service to, 12 years of service to our organization on October 13th. We appreciate your service and look forward to spending the next few months with you, Valerie, and look forward to wishing you well. Sorry. Future agenda items. So we will be having a study session, topic to be determined, but please mark your calendars for a study session at 4:30. During the board meeting, you'll be hearing a report on our new assessment system. We have some great information to share with you about that. There'll also be a college and career readiness initiative update, and Eric Bowles will be bringing for a report the curriculum renewal and review cycle, which will come before the board after that for approval in September.
All right. As Ms. Whitney mentioned, we have no executive session. I too would echo the board's thanks to Ms. Smith, and I know we'll have other opportunities to celebrate her and tell her more how we feel about her and all the appreciation that we have for her. And with that, thank you for joining us this evening, and the meeting is adjourned.